Good morning. I got the golden rays of sunshine showing up. We're here to talk a little bit about love lost. That's what today's episode is going to be about. I don't have a lot of things set up right now. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. We're just coming out of spring break. We worked a lot. We did a lot of traveling. We had family visiting, and it was awesome. So my room's a little messy. So what I thought I would do is just sit here for a moment and tell you more about like why a song like this was written. And I guess the best place to start is like 2008 when I was finally coming out of the depression of a long relationship that had ended, and it ended in epic fashion. And so instead of just writing another song about my ex-girlfriend and about how my heart was broken and all this stuff, I decided to kind of lump everybody into it. So the song explores a lot of that mid to late teen lust. That's that whole 17 was like a dream, but what's this life about? I close my eyes and you reappear in the back of a Chevy Blazer. May or may not have been one of the first times I ever made love. And then around those same times, I was doing a lot of theater, both wrapping up high school and in shows around the theaters and stuff around town. So you spend 2 months with someone rehearsing a show and learning, maybe playing opposite them, and you just tend to fall in love. You tend to fall in love with who's close to you. So that's what that was about. And then the last verse, the bit about the 6 long years love was strong, I thought you were the one. That's very, very true. That was the relationship I was in before I met Martha and before I got married and we had the girls was 6 years. I proposed. And then for whatever reason, she started not coming home. And I would just wait up for her and just get increasingly more drunk. And then there was an actual night that we sat at the bottom of our apartment stairs and just shared a cigarette, and in silence both kind of figured out, you know what, this just isn't going to work. So the interesting thing about a tune like this, one, is that it was like, if you go on YouTube and you watch Behind These Shades, that show with Larry and I, it's in that show. So this song was written a long time ago, probably in 2018, maybe 2019, probably 2019. And kind of like Push My Swing, there's no real, here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's the bridge. You could argue that is it better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all is the chorus. I always kind of considered it the bridge, because at the end of every section, there's this change to this D major chord. In the back of a Chevy Blazer, the flannel tied low around your waist, backstage of the theater. That to me was it was such an intense hook that I always went, okay, well, that's the chorus. That's what the chorus is. So that's the most, to me, sing-songable part of the song. I'll still do a chord breakdown. You'll probably see that right about now. So when we talk about the chord progression of Love Lost, I think this is a good time to talk about how I use a lot of open chords. I use a lot of those big spacey sustained chords as well, letting things ring out. Mostly because I got a lot of this stuff, it all stems from my inspiration from Pete Townsend. Feeling like I have to be the one to cover the entirety of the sound with just my hands and just this instrument. And that F sharp minor chord, right? Because that's what we're talking about here. It's technically F, in my opinion, it's F sharp minor, A, and B, right? But it's open, and I think that makes this a different chord, like some kind of a 11 or something. but I got it from Townsend. Let my love open the door. My love open the door, right? So that's what we have. It's this F sharp minor, A sustain, B. I'm muting the low E string, but I'm letting, you can't really see that. And if you listen real carefully, you can hear there's a time where I come off of the B. So it would go. Right? That's that bulk of that the verse. And then we come into this D chord. Is it close my eyes and reappear in the back of a Chevy Blazer. So that is D sustain, so that high E is ringing out, but into an A major. The flannel tied low around your waist, back into the main riff. And then in the love lost section, we go back to an A sustain, but we bring it up here into the 7th fret, E voicing. So in reality, what we're doing is like a, is it better to A, B, C, back to B, but we're always letting the high B and the high E ring out. Still muting that low E the way that I play it. Is it better to have loved and lost just and then never have loved at all? Is it better to have loved and lost than never have loved? And then you jump up to a D, back into the main riff at all. That's really all there is to it as far as the chords. All right, let's see where our drummer is here for a second. I think it's, nope, it's this one, that one. Who's playing drums for me today? Kyle. Kyle's back. It's good to have him. Thank you, Kyle. What do you got going on? Simple bass, coming straight forward. That changes when we get up into the second verse. Let's stop to see if we can find out where that is. About right here, maybe. Let's listen to that. The bass will get a little bit complicated. Complicated for me, I'll say. Wait, let's see what happens with this. It's got to be a Nashville guitar. Yep. Now I'm a believer. Too bright to see. Cool. Comes that organ part. So that's played. That's not like a pad or rhythm. It's just pedal tones. So one of the things I will say about how the recording of this went, because this was a very surprisingly interesting recording and how good it came out sounding. So we have there's a big click and then a big organ swell that brings us into it, right? Ah, come on, Dan. And the point that I'm trying to make here is we have all this exciting stuff, right? But during the first verse is when we introduce this organ, right? And then when you jump to the second verse, which I believe is, and then there's no organ during the verse, but there's this guitar part, this muted guitar. Right? And I think I talked about this release that happens, you know. So when we get to these parts where it changes to that D into A major, the mute starts to come undone. Just trying to make these big chords. But then what happens is in the third, so then it's all that stuff. In the third verse, we have organ, and we'll have all of this stuff going on. Let's see if we can get the lead vocal in there. 6 long years, love. So there's the muted guitar. Right, here comes an open electric guitar with counter rhythms. So now we bring the organ in. And you're not home. I'm already drunk. Time is crawling by. At the bottom of the stairway, sharing the smoke as we said goodbye. Your hands were trembling. I was just too tired to cry. And it might sound pretentious and it might sound like bullshit, but the truth of it was, the first verse was meant to symbolize this kind of, this more innocent approach to what's going on romantically. And so I just decided to represent that with the organ. The second verse was, there was a little bit more frustration here as far as like, how we don't understand the emotion of it. How do we get this across? And it's complicated. And that's why the guitar is always contained until that very last minute. And then with so much going wrong in the last verse, all of it had to come back. It's everything. And so that by the time it gets to this bottom of the stairway, everything just opens up. There's no containing anything. These big triads on the organ, big crunchy open electric guitar parts and stuff like that. So that's why the arrangement came out the way that it did. So that's some interesting things maybe to listen for the next time you listen to Love Lost. At the bottom of the stairway, sharing the smoke as we said goodbye. Your hands were trembling. Hey, just a quick note. Thank you, first off, for watching and listening. I really appreciate it. If you want to click the like button or subscribe, that would be so helpful. And always ask your streaming devices to play some songs. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me that anyone would listen. That's not why I'm doing this. I am here to tell you that I might not be around next week because I'm getting my wisdom teeth taken out tomorrow. So it was important that I get today's episode done, and then you might not see me next week. I'll see what I can do, because the next episode, that song is very special and one that I'm very eager to talk a little bit more about. But I hope you guys are great. Thank you for all your support, and I look forward to seeing and talking to you in the future.